The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions. Hello everyone.
Hi.
Welcome back to Tokucast.
Yes.
We are continuing 01 month.
Yes.
With our team-up movie.
Yes.
Kamen Rider...
Reiwa the First
Reiwa
Generation.
the First Generation. I keep wanting to call it the... Zio01 movie, but that's not the name of it.
I mean, to be fair, that's what
it's what it is, but it's not what it's called, and I keep expecting that's what it to be called.
Also, in some cases, it's more 01 featuring Zio, and I think that's more to the movie's benefit.
Yes. Yes.
I think, weirdly enough, like Decade, I appreciate Zio more out of his own show.
I can understand that.
Yes.
I can understand that.
This could be also because of the fact that I watched Superhero Sinky the night before, and that movie was... It started off good, and then it just turned into a cacophony of sound at the end.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, that one left me with a bad taste in my mouth, so I came in watching this the next day for the first time, because I hadn't seen this movie yet. I legitimately enjoyed this movie.
Okay. All right.
I think it's actually fairly good.
I think this movie has a lot of problems, but I think it's not bad. All things considered, it's not bad.
Let's go for a good, bad, terrible in this. But we'll start with the bad, because I think I want to end on a good note with this one.
Okay.
What's the bad and terrible bad for you?
Oh, boy. A lot of it stems from Zio.
The time jacker is a problem.
The main villain of this movie is very weak.
She is.
While I think I like the concept of I wake up in an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Goodness, excuse me. I wake up in an alternate timeline and I'm the only one who remembers the previous events.
Yeah.
And it's all like human gears are the dominant species now.
And I love how they set that up too, with him riding on the bike down the street and all the human gears looking at him.
Okay, I have to bring up a Terabed thing.
What?
It's a little thing, but it's a trope that I really, really hate, and it's characters being late after they set a bunch of alarms.
Oh, it's constantly an Naruto
I
thing.
am so tired of this in media.
It's a Naruto thing.
It's not just a Naruto
thing. I know,
but it's just this is a trope that has endured since time immemorial.
But I think it weirdly sets up how this story works. Because that way you get a lot of human gears already out in the
I think you could have done that with him just driving. You didn't need him to be like, oh no, I'm late. I set 6 alarms and I'm late. How?
Although
it's not how alarms
I really
work.
think the setup for that was weirdly good. Because you got that time, like you understood that time was like sort of the issue. Here almost immediately seeing those clocks move and the sound of the ticking getting louder. Yeah, it led to the trope. But at the same time, it's just like, all right, something's wrong almost immediately. So I think the setup for that really worked well.
I think the one thing about this movie I didn't like is that the action, while some of the action is very good.
Oh my god, we'll talk about that in a second.
We'll get there when we get to the good, but the fight scenes are a little too disconnected.
Some of them, yeah.
There's a little too many times throughout this movie where we'll have multiple groups of people fighting other multiple groups of people. And as a result, we're constantly cutting back and forth between... It'll be like a fight will end and it'll feel like, okay, that's the end, but then we immediately go into another fight scene.
Yeah.
And it gets repetitive. It feels like, maybe just have one big fight in a bigger area and cut between them... Cut back and forth between the fights as they go along instead of one fight ends, we go to another one. One fight ends, we go to another one. Because then it starts to feel more repetitive. If they kept them more interconnected, I think that would have worked better.
You can definitely tell this is one of those things where I'm just like, I miss pre-COVID times because you could see all those people, all the actors and everybody just out and about.
There are
a lot of people in this.
I was going to say a lot of big open spaces.
No quarries though.
This takes
Thank
place.
God.
No quarries. They don't go back to the same quarry, but there are a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
A lot of scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
That take place in big open environments where they make good use of wide shots. And that's something I really liked.
I really liked, especially on Zio's portion, how that started off. Where they're in the high school, and they end up getting attacked by Tokyo Rokugo.
Was he the teacher?
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
And I really love, like, 'cause it's them running from everybody in the high school, and I love that. I thought that was so cool.
That scene, I mean, if we just want to like mix a little good in here as well, that scene in particular has some really good stunt work.
Yeah, it does.
There is a moment where Zio and I forget the girl. What's the girl from Zio? Tsukiyomi. Where the two of them are running away from some Humagears, and they're on the stairs. And one of they separate from each other because this Humagear just leaps at them.
Yeah.
From the staircase and just like flops down. We see him like disappear, just like flop down out of sight from the camera, and then they reunite and they keep running away, and the camera holds there, and the Humagear pops back up and like looks around like a meerkat. And it's some quality stunt work.
Yeah.
Quality stunt work and some good cinematography here.
What other bad do you have? Because I really think we have more good to talk about this time around. I don't know why.
The ending, where
they fight.
That was so pointless. It was so pointless.
I think
it made no sense.
It was weirdly enough because Zio had to erase their memories again, and 01 didn't want to let that happen. But it sort of didn't fully matter because Satellite there and Izu still remembered everything.
Yeah. So what was the point?
I think it's because
I didn't like how it happened. I didn't like how we had to once again sit through yet another henshin sequence from both of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know what I really appreciate?
It made things go on a little too long. It could have ended on a freeze frame high five, and that would have been better.
Yeah. He just didn't want to erase his memory. But Soko had to go back to what he was before he remembered everything.
Yep.
So, really enough, I didn't mind it. Mm-hmm. It didn't go on for too long, to me at least. Okay. It only lasted like 2 minutes, and that was it. And then freeze frame to the next thing where we're back in the normal timeline.
Yeah, I think the movie's a little. I think the movie is a little too long. I think it does have some pacing issues.
In some places, I would agree.
Some places mainly involving the villain, and mainly some fights that just again like some of the fights they drag on a little bit too long, and the fact that they just cut immediately to another fight scene really killed the pacing.
I will wholeheartedly. The worst thing about this movie, at least to me, is just the time jacker.
Yeah.
I didn't like.
I don't even remember her name.
Same. I didn't like her. I didn't like them in Zio. I didn't like them here, and I didn't like them in the Zio movie over Quartzer. It was just. I think they're a really weak villain group who are weirdly too powerful, but at the same time not powerful enough. Mm-hmm. That freeze time thing they have going on is trash, and I hate that.
The freeze time thing, and I don't know if I said this during the Zio review, but they're just really petty.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
I know you do, but there are moments where it's like you could be walking along with a plate of cookies and you could drop them and they could freeze time and go, "Oh, looks like someone made a mess of things. Why don't you form a contract with me
and become another writer,
and then give in to despair, and we shall destroy the world." And then I'm like, no, can I just make another batch, please? I just want to move on.
This is too much work. This is too much work. Too much work.
This is just too much.
If that's all, we can move on to the good, though.
Do let's.
I liked the way this story really focused on 01 and his family.
Yeah, me too.
The whole thing with his dad, who for some reason I thought was Mega Blue for the longest time, and I realized it wasn't him. I loved that whole story.
I like that we got to see more of Aruto interacting with his dad.
Yeah.
Especially
as an adult.
As an adult, and I thought the guy that they got to play his dad was a good actor.
Yeah.
They got a good. It's the same guy from the show.
Yeah.
But he does a good job in this because he's got more screen time. He's got more room to interact with the cast, and he does a good job.
Yeah.
His suit.
The Ichigata suit is so good.
I like this suit a lot.
I love the color.
What if we took,
Ichigo.
What if we took Ichigo? What if we took the first Kamen Rider? And I think this is a really good update of it.
Yeah.
Melding it into the same style. Like, it feels like it fits within the world of 01.
Yeah.
But it is the Ichigo suit. And it looks really good.
I love that.
I like it a lot.
That, like, cerulean sort of teal color. Quality.
Good stuff.
001.
You know, it's not bad.
It's really not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I legitimately appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it basically just has the same undersuit as the Metsubo Jinrai, their main suits. So I love how it looks. Two, how it hurts them every single time.
How did you feel about how Mitsubo Jinrai was incorporated into this movie?
They were there as enforcers.
Yeah,
I didn't mind them. This is between episodes 9 and 10 of 01. So Jin doesn't have his very nice suit yet, and all of that.
as in the 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
not the Toku suit.
He just has the hat, and I still really appreciated their personalities and stuff. They aren't in this movie enough.
We get to see Horobi actually use the sword.
Yeah, it's true. That was the weirdest part. They're not in this movie enough for me to really have too much of an opinion on them. I think they were effective at just being, human gear enforcers, and I think that was just
considering they weren't the main. It was a little weird seeing them relegated to that role, but considering it is an alternate timeline and we do have another threat that's overseeing all this, because we have the time jacker, but then we also have the other human gear,
another 01.
Another 01.
I do like how it doesn't work like the other another riders from from ZO.
Yeah.
I think that's having that whole story really focused around Will and having his whole backstory with Kurenosuke is, I thought that was very well done. It shows these are the things like we're here to make the humans smile. What's going to make the human gear smile? And I was sitting here like, oh, he has a point, and I understand exactly where he's coming from. And you could have had Soreo, the dad, Ichigata, take over, but he didn't want to do that. He just wanted to make it so everybody can smile, and just because that's what Naruto wants.
If there's no, it's like, well, by law, it's that like the logic of an AI of, well, if there are no humans, then they don't need to smile.
Yeah.
But if we're all human gears, then we can all smile.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly malicious. He's being manipulated by something that is malicious.
It is Arc still.
But it's Arc, and it's also the Time Jacker, but the human gear himself is not inherently evil. It's kind of the way that what's his name? Gaiamatsu, Mr. 1000%.
Yeah.
The way he would manipulate human gears.
And he shows up at the very end of this movie.
Yeah, he does. But the way that he would be the human gear would be they would reach their singularity and start to become more self-aware, and they would, what's the word I'm looking for? They would start to become self-aware because of distress, and he would give them that push into malicious territory. That's what would happen here.
Pretty much
on a pretty grand scale.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I want to bring up is the scope.
Yeah, the scope of this movie.
I talk about big open space. There are a lot of drone shots, a lot of,
especially when the armies are clashing.
Drone shots and wide shots where we get a good look at wide open spaces, but also we get a car chase.
Let's talk about that car chase.
We get a full-on car chase, which weirdly enough we don't get in Toku a lot.
Where's the first place that Fua and Yua first show up?
Yeah, these versions of them. Yeah,
I loved it.
Where they're being chased by human gears on bikes. They're in this ratty old army jeep
because they had to
wearing resistance outfits.
Yeah.
Just the dirty vests and black t-shirts and
so good
dirty pants, and they're just shooting at them with machine guns.
And then they do the whole turnaround slide, and Yua shoots one dead in his chest. I'm sitting here yes, give my girl everything.
We see she does a drift to the side, and we see her CG bullets go and knock the other bullets out of the way.
Give my girl all the cool points. I loved them in this movie as resistance fighters.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It also makes sense why they did not get their upgrades that they would have gotten around this time. So a lot of this really worked for me. A lot of this really worked. Especially Soreo showing up to Naruto that first time, he instantly recognized him.
Right.
And I loved how even though Izu was there to help the rest of the humans, they were still exceedingly distrustful of her.
Which made sense,
yeah,
I thought, because literally the entire population of the larger world is now Humagears, at least in this concentrated sector.
Yeah.
From what we know of their worldview,
Yeah.
and so there's no reason for them not to be.
Yeah, and it just worked. Them trying to get satellite there up because Arc still actually takes off in this one instead of being destroyed.
Yep.
And put down to the bottom of Daybreak Town, so they had to actually launch him, and then get satellite there up at the end of the movie. And I want to talk about some of these fight scenes.
Oh, let's do it.
Oh my goodness, they had some good ones.
They have some good ones. There's some good stunt work. There's lots of long takes.
Yeah.
And like
that fight.
That's one thing that I really felt was missing from Zero One the show was really good action scenes.
It had some good ones, but
they're okay.
Yeah.
But especially when we just came off of Kira Major, and we've seen what Kamen Rider has done in the past with shows like X-Aid, where they employ just like the filmmaking that they are able to use, whether it's a stylistic take, like the long, like something like the pool scene in X-Aid, or like long takes, like those long one-take shots, one-take fight scenes that we had in Kira Major. I wish they had learned a little more from that, and they had evolved and expanded upon that more. And that was one of the things about Zero One that really disappointed me was like, just like the action felt kind of lackluster. But in this, I felt like one of the things that I really liked about it was it didn't feel like a longer TV episode.
No,
which is what a lot of Toku movies end up feeling like.
It felt like a legit movie.
Yeah.
And you had like some weird. I really think that Gaze worked in this movie. He was a nerd. He was a giant nerd throughout this entire movie. Like he would see the Humagears and just pose, like I'm going to attack you, and then that doesn't happen. Tsukiyomi's like, please forgive him. He's an idiot.
I'm so sorry about him.
I'm so sorry. I apologize on his behalf.
Waz just hand him a laminated card. Forgive him. He's a dope.
Waz just being there, being the coolest. I love Waz.
That scene of Waz walking through a hallway, dragging a Humagear by his scarf that is wrapped around its neck, while just reading from his book.
I'm just like, this man.
That was a pretty cool moment, I will admit.
And then them transforming in the actual hallway, Tsukiyomi transforming as well and actually fighting this time around. Fighting against Horobi and Jin. Having all three of them actually out doing something. I mean, they don't get a lot, but I feel like whenever they do get something to bring them on screen, they're still useful. Especially the first time that Zio shows up, immediately recognizes that it's another rider and goes to attack it. I'm just like, I really appreciated this cast a lot more outside of their own show because their show was not great. But here they are just like as backup characters. They work better as backup characters. And I will say that because in Sinki, Zio shows up in that as well, and he worked better there. I don't know what it was. It just worked. That cast really worked for me this time around. Waz always does, but the other three needed some help. And I feel like they got that help here. We have to talk about the 001 Ichigato fight.
Okay.
The super speed fight. That was so well done. I loved that fight so much. It had some of the, like, Ichigato coming down, punching Naruto down to the ground, Naruto, like, spinning, and then Ichigato kicking him into a wall. I'm just like, I watched that scene twice.
Wow, okay.
It was so good. It was just really cool. They really did some good things with the action direction this time around, and I really appreciated that. On the actual story side, you had the whole thing with Will, which is just a name in and of itself for pretty much exactly what he wanted the Humagears to have. And him, that whole vote section to get Naruto back into charge of the company to sort of to write the timeline. And, leading to the fight with Ichigata. And, him and his dad having that whole heartfelt moment when his dad, dies, more or less, and then disappears. Yeah. The tire jacket was still the worst part of that, though, because he ended up having to go back to her fighting Zio, too.
Yeah.
How
do we feel about the giant robot?
Oh, the giant Ichigo?
Yeah.
That
eventually merges with Gates.
After she, Gates' time machine.
Yeah.
How she got that to that point was stupid. I hated that. It wasn't set up well.
Yeah.
Her stealing Grand Zio's power, or rather Oma Zio's power. I'm just like, I don't understand how you did that. How did he not just say no? He has that power at that time. She was the worst part of this.
The movie is not without its problems.
No, the movie is not without its problems. A lot of the problems really end up tying to her. I think she really dragged this movie down. Everything else really worked, though.
Yeah.
I appreciated this movie.
I did too.
Yeah, it was good. I definitely recommend it. But yeah. I guess that's it.
I guess that'll do it.
Next time.
Unless you have anything else that's,
Next time, Real X time. And I know people have been looking forward to this. I rewatched this movie recently. It's still quite good.
Okay.
So, I'm excited to talk about it.
I mean, this last one was pretty good. We'll see what happens.
Zio has, Zero One has, it has about 50-50 on its movies. Like, you got the Zio's, Zero One, and now Real X time, and then you got the last two, which we'll talk about in the last part of this month.
We'll get there.
But yeah, let us know what you think about this movie in the comments below. Let us know what you think about Real X time, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.